showtime.
Dynamite download.
Dynamite download, your home for all positive coverage with all elite wrestling.
You guys, positive energy.
This reality, like, it is me. Like,
Who let
Oh
this
my
guy in
gosh!
here?
This is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
I'm saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down like wrestling like he does.
I said, Mariah May. She said, who?
Because I'm so driven, and I'm so moved to like what I want to do.
Versus Brian Keith match.
It's awesome. Oh, it's so cool. You got like these creepy ass dudes.
Oldest ride, longest line.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah.
Back to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Hello.
Welcome to Dynamite Download, everyone. You got your host, Mind Runner, and it's me, it's SPD, and it is episode 120, and that's all the rhyming I'm going to be doing for now. But welcome, everybody. Happy Thursday.
You're almost pulling a Max Caster there.
Right.
Let's go.
Yo.
Listen. Yo. It's Dynamite Download 120. This is the right place to be. We got SPD and Mind Runner. And we're not going to deter from the good news, the positive tip. We're going to make all your minds flip as we cover Dynamite. What a great show. And now it's time for SPD to blow.
Woo! There we go. All right. I like it, man. It is showtime indeed. Before we do start talking Dynamite stuff, do we have the most up-to-date Season 2 rankings? Which,
yes, it is time for a little...
my tail right now because no Dynamite or no Team SPD members were on the show or one on the show, but we'll see what happens the rest of the week. So as this season differs from last or is different from last, a lot more rosters and a lot of depth. So you're not going to be, there might be weeks where you're betting, zero.
Anything can happen. Let's take a look at the draft. I just noticed we got to add the leftover taker to that promo.
That's right.
We got to get the leftover taker on here. But let's
take a surprise 8th enter right there.
Yes.
Wow. Team Crayfish and a 4-way tie for the lead. Very impressive. I'll gladly take no points from last night's show because of the pure wrestling that we saw and some of my favorites. So I'll gladly take the no points and just read it and mother F and weep as a fan and just enjoy what we saw.
And as you and I both know, anything can happen. Watch out. Leftover taker might just at any given Wednesday, any given Saturday, as you and I both know, anything can happen. I was first place for weeks upon weeks.
Yeah, you should have started your podcast 53 weeks or whatever that podcast. You could have made that the new name, the sidebar.
Yep, but nope. Instead, I got crushed. It was close. It came down to the wire. But, of course, SPD is on top. But,
we didn't get too many matches announced ahead of time for Rampage other than the Dustin Rhodes and the Butcher one. So I'm curious what kind of cards we're going to get. The Bullet Club announced that they're going to have a family dinner. So hopefully they start featuring since pretty invested. Jay White was high on my draft pick. The UK, let's dive into Dynamite now. Let's pull up the card. Let me pull up the card first here.
Yep. Little shout out to Full Tilt Dad, by the way. Hey, baby.
Hey. The awesome, when they announced this card, I was like, great, Ospreay main event. But whoa, they kicked off the show. But then the more I was thinking, it makes sense. Like the number one contendership was on the line, but 2 banger matches to sandwich a great Dynamite overall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you kicked it off with Ospreay and ended with the Strickland Takeshita, and it was just absolutely great overall wrestling and storytelling with both matches. Which match did you like better?
Oh, wow. That's like, which ice cream did I like better? It's like they were both fantastic. I have to say, match-wise, I felt like, honestly, I don't know. I'm saying it. I think I anticipated, I'm always anticipating greatness with Ospreay. I don't know as much about Shibata as some fans. So I wasn't sure how that was going to go. I was wondering if he was going to be more of like a Bryan Danielson rather than like a Kenny Omega. Yeah. But both those guys just brought it. It was fantastic. But then Takeshita versus Strickland. I mean, Takeshita is a modern day like Kenny Omega, and Swerve just can work with anybody. In fact, Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland are very similar in as they can put on a banger with anybody. We'll talk a little bit more tonight, but I have a feeling we're seeing the beginnings of a new glorious feud or rivalry. If I don't want to say feud, but rivalry between Swerve and Ospreay, which began way before either one of them were signed anywhere.
Right.
And I think I'd love to see at Wembley Swerve versus Ospreay.
Wow.
I don't know how we're going to get it, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, it could be for the title too.
Very well could be.
Let's dive into the Ospreay match that kicked off the show, and absolutely the crowd was just bonkers for this match, on their feet pretty much the whole time, and it delivered. And thinking about the whole story arc of this, and I love the backstage promo that Ospreay gave, and I love how AEW does that, and how Shibata was used essentially as like the measuring stick for their upcoming match. On paper, some might be like, why is this match being booked? Good wrestling is good wrestling, or great wrestling is great wrestling, regardless of if it needs a storyline or not. I'll take that for what it is. I'll take a banger match all day with no storyline or build versus not having it. But that's a whole nother thing. But the way he said that, it makes perfect sense. And I was like, both guys went against them. Both won in different fashions, in different ways. Ospreay got a clean pin. Danielson got a little sneaky pin. And so I think it's great to see people like Shibata, who almost careers were ended.
Yes.
Based on his health. Danielson based on his health. And Ospreay still in his prime. It just those three put together over the last couple of weeks has been really a blast to watch as a fan of wrestling in general.
Now, I will say this, in this household, we're not as big on Bryan Danielson as most of wrestling fandom. That's probably one of the takes that really gets a lot of people mad at us. I don't care. But I mean, it's just like Will Ospreay, I think, is now replaced. I don't know if he's replaced, but he's in Deb's top 3 now. And I think he's in my top 3 as well. And just there was the one move he did where Shibata knocked him down, and he landed on his shoulders and then kipped back up.
Yeah,
spinning kick. That's kind of stuff that just out of nowhere. And again, I just to draw the parallel, that's the same kind of stuff that Swerve does.
Right.
Swerve does the same kind. And I'm not saying copy, but like those it goes one way and then like he swerves. Next thing you know, he's doing a leg knee or so, whatever. He's doing what have you. And, this was such a great opener. I think Shibata, like we said earlier, Shibata was a great person for him to go against now because of how similar his style is to Bryan Danielson. This was definitely, I think, kind of like a foreshadowing of what we're going to see at Dynasty, if you will. We use the Tony Storm way of saying it.
This card for Dynasty already is shaping up to be extremely impressive.
Yeah.
You have 2 title matches set. Samoa Joe versus Swerve. You have Ospreay versus Danielson and Willow versus Julia Hart. I mean, just that alone, as I've said before and over again, the Will Ospreay match versus Danielson is worth the cost of any pay-per-view period. But you're already adding 2 more great matches to the card. And I mean, I don't think we're going to get a lot of more great ones. Oh, excuse me. The finals tag team could potentially be Young Bucks versus FTR, which would be absolutely tear the house down, a great opener match. So really, Dynasty is going to be one of the marquee pay-per-views with a lot of things on the line. You have new tag team titles on the line. You have bragging rights for Ospreay Danielson. You have 2 other title matches on the line. Who knows if Cope Oakland is going to be doing a title match and so forth. So really shaping up to be a great card.
I think so too. I do like that they're keeping like the big 4 are like the major all weekend celebration pay-per-views, but these other like in between pay-per-views are still really, really phenomenal, but I almost feel like though it's like it's like having your birthday cake on your birthday, but you've been eating Dunkin' Donuts all week. Like we get spoiled sometimes with some of these great matches, but I think it's going to be great. I know as we get closer, there's going to be some more matches popping out, not just the finals for the tag team, but I bet out of this tournament, we're going to see some other things. Had a couple tiny gripes with some of the tag team stuff, but we'll get into that later. But I agree with what you said. This is a good Dynamite that was sandwiched by 2 phenomenal, like 5-star matches. That's in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the commentator said the same thing. Like at the end, if I don't know what a 5-star match is, then I don't know. That's it. When he was talking about Swerve and Takeshita, and Takeshita, we'll save that for a little bit later in the show. But let's talk about this match. I mean, your deep sigh says it all. However,
my sigh is probably not
both
the
of these
same
teams
as yours.
are in there.
Yeah.
So my biggest, I'm looking for silver lining and everything. What I am upset about not only is on the UK on Team SPD, but they hold gold, but they've probably lost more than they've won, but still hold gold. That doesn't make any sense to me.
My sigh is very similar to yours. Then I stand corrected. Yeah. I'm a fan of all 4 of these guys.
Right.
I love Trent. As you know, Orange Cassidy got me a lot of points in the draft last time, but I unlike some other folks, I do acknowledge the tribal fruit. Taven and Bennett, I was so pumped that they were getting some major TV time with this whole, Adam, this whole, Roderick Strong thing. And I'm really trying to be positive about the Undisputed Kingdom. And I'm struggling. And one of the major issues I have is why they're even in this tournament when they're champions. Because what you're kind of saying,
good point,
is you're kind of saying that the ROH tag team titles are not as important. ROH is a great show, by the way. I know a lot of people don't watch it that are AEW fans, but I highly encourage you all to check it out. It's worth it. There's so much great storytelling going on. There's so much stuff going on with Athena, with Dalton Castle and Johnny TV. There's so many great storylines going on. But my biggest gripe, and it sounds like they're starting to change that with Eddie Kingston right now because they're getting close to Supercard of Honor. They don't highlight their championships. Their champions are all in AEW. And I can understand that if it was designed that way to direct people to go to ROH, like Eddie Kingston going, "Yo, partner, I'm going to be on ROH tomorrow night." You dig? Or if and Bullet Club Gold, why they're the 6-man tag team champions and they're doing nothing with it. They're wiping their ass with it. And they should be doing this stuff. And so I actually think it was a mistake. And again, this is like me complaining about complaining about how many M&Ms are in the donut. It's like the ugliest supermodel. It's AEW's great. I love the product. It's awesome. I think they should have had a different team in this tournament than Undisputed Kingdom. Undisputed Kingdom needs a feud, elsewhere. Now, if this is going to start a feud with best friends, I think there was a different way to go about it. You could have put a different team in against the best friends, especially if they're going to take the L. I don't think this was it. I don't think this was the way to go. It didn't really generate anything. Unless Trent is going to challenge Roderick Strong for the title, I don't see this really helping anybody that was in this match. It was a good match. I mean, it highlighted everybody's skills. It was fantastic, but this was a match that really, from a booking standpoint, I kind of felt like it was half-ass.
It softens the meaning of the tag titles, sadly. This is their second loss in a row on AEW television, but it's non-title matches, and it just really, it's unfortunate because I'm still high and have high hopes for the UK, and that's one of the hot topic buttons that we always circle back on because of, I think we're waiting for more. We were wanting more. We're wanting more, and because the talent level in the whole group is great, and these guys included, Taven and Bennett. Like I was hoping they would finally silence OC and just have him, take on his merry way. But you need a couple of those heavy babyface teams in this tournament where you have heel Bucks, you have Starks and Big Bill, you had House of Black. So I get it, but I don't know. This was a strange one to me. I was hoping for, you could have had the Guns in there.
You could have had the Righteous.
Right, the Righteous.
Yep.
Righteous could have taken a clean L to. There's a lot of teams that I would have booked differently. However, it is what it is. We're getting tag team wrestling back on the map, which is good.
Yeah.
And the other tag team match that was in this tournament was fantastic. I thought there was a lot of great spots, and this is why these two teams, some of the OGs in AEW, have such great chemistry together and put on such great matches. And this was one of those that I was like, when I saw this in the round in the bracket, I'm like, yes, shots, yes. So I was pumped, and it definitely delivered. The heel Bucks is working so well. The Private Party back together at full health. I love their swagger, but they just do some incredible moves nonstop. It's the reason why I loved AEW tag team wrestling so much, was these two teams plus Lucha Brothers early on when they had started in AEW. So that's what really, I think, put AEW tag team wrestling on the map, were these core teams, and hopefully we're seeing the resurgence of it, and I think we are.
Absolutely. I went back and watched I remember watching the debut, the debut of Dynamite when Private Party beat the Young Bucks in the tag team tournament. And that was what really got me to pay attention to Private Party, especially Mark Quinn was the standout, just because he was doing the 450 splash and doing all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
His injury was unfortunate, but what was really good about, what was really kind of cool, is when Mark Quinn was out, you can see today the growth in Isaiah Cassidy, especially compared to where he was when in 2019.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you can see that with Mark Quinn too, but the growth that Isaiah Cassidy has had, where he was kind of this kid going, all that kind of stuff. And he still does that, but like now he's got his man spread. He comes across more as a legit wrestler than some hot dog back in 2019. And I mean, they've always been legit. I don't want to take away from their talent back then. They became all elite because of their talent, but he carries himself with more confidence. They both carry themselves with confidence, but Isaiah carries himself with more confidence. And the crazy stuff they were doing in this match, you always know when you hear like Young Bucks versus Private Party, Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers, Young Bucks or Private Party versus Top Flight. You always know you're in for some awesomeness.
Oh, for sure.
But they're so creative with the stuff that they do that I was well entertained. I was wondering if they were gonna repeat what happened in 2019, and was Private Party gonna upset the Young Bucks, but
you never know. It came close.
It came close, especially Nick Jackson almost Botch. No, I'm just kidding. We don't celebrate botches because anything, as you know, only podcast Peter celebrates botches. But no, that was a phenomenal match, and I didn't know which way it was going to go, but it really highlighted both teams, and I don't think Private Party looked bad at all in this entire thing. And these promos that they do are so chock full of inside baseball. If you know, you know when they reference it.
They are so great. I love all the little nuances that they're dropping, the hints that they're dropping, like you said. But man, just give me more and more of these. I want more backstage segments like this. I want more backstage EVP moments.
Yes.
I want just over the top stuff. You know, everything from their entrances. Even the commentator team was like, "What's the point of them coming out again using that elevator? And it costs money." And it's just funny just to come out of the entrance in their ridiculous entrance. Just to show face, not do anything, and go back, and then it lowers back down. It's absolutely fantastic, and I want them to lean into it even more and more and more. And when they get gold around their shoulders again and waist, I think it's just going to be that much more repulsive backstage, or that much more repulsive in the tag team division, and it's going to be great. And that's coming from a resident babyface, and so I'm excited for it.
telling Renee she needs to smile more, and she sold her a great reaction. But that's the kind of stuff that, you know, a good heel makes you want to see their comeuppance. You want to see them kicked in the face. You want to you relish that moment, and so they're doing such a great job. Who's it going to be? Who's going to finally shut them up? Is it going to be FTR? Is it going to be, you know, Top Flight? Who's it going to be? And that's just keep milking this. I love that the Young Bucks can take all the unfair hate and just turn it around and actually use it to create great storytelling and entertainment. And so good.
So great.
Yeah.
What do you see? So we saw the third member of the Elite, Okada, my number one overall pick, show up in the Ferrari. What do you make of that? He didn't. I thought
it was great. Did you watching his not on purpose over the top reactions? First of all, kudos to not watch. They weren't watching over their shoulders. If you notice, everybody like Samoa Joe and everybody when they were watching backstage, they weren't doing the Bret Hart, you know, watching over their shoulder. But like Okada was like you would have thought he was watching like the Fast and the Furious or something, because he was all like he was really reacting. Like sometimes you'll just have somebody standing there just going like just staring at it.
Right.
So of course, like Christian sneering, but Okada was like reacting to the TV, like he was like this, like he was really like watching. I thought I was getting a kick out of that.
That reminds me, another match that could be set for Dynasty, Okada versus Pac, which, oh my gosh, those 4 matches, just give them each 30, 40 minutes, and let's call that a wrap. And that's a great pay-per-view.
Right. Yeah. We decided we're only going to have these matches. Enjoy. All right.
I think those true fans would truly understand it. It's quality over quantity. And unfortunately, there's a lot of times we get the quantity and the quality, but it's a marathon. It's exhausting.
It can be rough sometimes. But leave that for the big 4. You know, Dynasty, you can lessen how many. But I saw you getting up to your finale. You know, one of these days we're gonna see Pac. You know, the only other time you see Pac is either in one of 2 outfits his entire life. I think he's either in full gear where he's got just his underpants and the boots, or he's in some kind of tracksuit. That's it. Other than that, he didn't wear anything else. He didn't own any other clothes. I think it'd be cool if one of these episodes Okada gets out of the Lamborghini and then Pac jumps him, or Pac steals the Lamborghini or something. I don't know.
It would be great if he kicked off like one of the Ferrari mirrors, kicked it off or something, like went to kick him and then he kicks the mirror off.
I hope you got insurance.
That would be an expensive mirror to replace for sure. But hey, he's making millions and millions and millions. So and
millions of dollars.
I'm sure it's on AEW's title there, anyways. The Fatal 4-Way, I guess you can call it the Fatal 4-Way, for the title shot of the TBS title at Dynasty. We saw Anna Jay kind of returning after being gone a while. Willow, Statlander, and Sky Blue, who've already been kind of in the mix of all this, and go toe to toe. And this match, I'm glad it was set. And when I first saw the graphic, I didn't read the fine print. I was like, wait, Mercedes is in this match, and I was I was home. I was glad she wasn't personally, just because I want her to have her own standalone storyline and not get thrown into a title picture right away. Even though it would be fun to see the CEO with some GOLD, but I think you kind of milk it out. Have her. I'm okay with her being intertwined with this, but as we've mentioned weeks ago, I was hoping more for a standalone feud with other people in the division. But this is definitely a strong side of one part of the women's division versus the other strong side of the other one, the Toni Storm saga there. And it's been fun. And I think it's been a win so far.
I do. I'm not sure. I know why they did it, but I don't think her on Mercedes on commentary elevated her at all. Did her any favors. She wasn't as dynamic on the mic, in my opinion. And I could be wrong. She didn't add to it. Didn't really, but the ending did. The stare down at the end and all of that. That was great. I mean, the whole match ended with Julia and Sky Blue in one spot and Willow and Statlander in one spot, and Mercedes staring down. Unfortunately, Anna Jay had to already go hit the showers for taking the pin. I will say this. I want to go on record for a couple things too. Number one, there's been a lot of negative Anna Jay hate online, just some down, tearing her down a little bit. While I agree, I think it would really help her to go do a lot more indie shows, really get some reps in. Anna Jay holds her own very well in the ring. I agree. She is a phenomenal wrestler. She's not. I mean, she's no Statlander. She's no Jamie Hayter. But considering her lack of experience, she's come a long way too. She's on there with the likes of most of the roster. I think a lot of the criticism is unfair. And also when it comes to, some of the people say, oh, she'll never be a champion. I think that's bollocks as well, because first, that's a lot of that's booking. Yeah. But I will say this. I do think her storyline though is kind of lost. I think actually they should reform the Dark Order. And I think that's something that they should consider, but she needs more storyline. Maybe she's waiting for her Ty to come back, and then they can do the Ty J tag team, what have you. I have to go on record.
Yep.
I have been proven so wrong about Sky Blue. I have 180'd my take on Sky Blue after watching the bumps that she was taking in this match. I'm not saying she's perfect. I'm not saying that she is 100% the best wrestler on the women's roster, but the bump she took from Willow last night, and essentially she took a bump even though she was executing the move when she did her blueberry smash, whatever it's called, the sky by thing on the announcer's desk last week. Sky Blue can go. And Sky Blue has my respect. I think I like her place in the storyline. She is kind of still Julia's toady. I think that works. I think it's good. I think she really helped the match a lot more than I thought she would. And I have to give her the kudos. I do like the dynamic between Statlander, Willow, and whatever Stokely's got planned. But it's time to pull the trigger. And if you're going to have Mercedes versus Willow, I'm almost a little bit confused why they had Willow win the match. Willow's going to get the title shot with Julia. They better do something at Dynasty where to finally get this Statlander, Willow, Mercedes storyline going. And they need to pull the trigger. It needs to be soon, because otherwise, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the end game here? I don't know what
Yes.
the end game is with all these intertwined here. Does Willow finally get does she get gold? Does she dethrone Hart? Does she instantly feud with someone else? Does someone turn? There's a lot of avenues that this could go. But, to piggyback on what you said, we were there for All Out in Chicago when Sky Blue was just a local talent there.
Yeah.
And the crowd was over for her, obviously being local. And then when she was in the ring, I was like telling the guys, I'm like, we were there. I'm like, dang, she's good. She's really good. And I'm like, dang, she'd be a good addition to the roster. And then look at her. Look at me now. Look at me now. How much she's grown. She's always had that skill and that pizzazz and really good in the ring. And I think she's really fine tuning her character work and her in-ring stuff, and has grown probably one of the most growth in a female wrestler on the roster in the last couple of years has been Sky Blue, I believe.
I think only overshadowed by Julia Hart herself. I think you're right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but I think she's right there. Julia Hart went from, she went from cheerleader to, I mean, for such a skinny thing, she really knows how to work a match. But yeah, I agree. I think the ladies really did a great job. We do need more women's matches on TV, but I felt like this was a great, and I always enjoy more than a singles women's match. Like, it seems like the singles women's matches just don't seem as entertaining as tags and 4-ways and those kind of things. And it really was entertaining. Thumbs up all around. I hope we get women's tag titles at some point here soon.
I know I've been going back and forth with that. I think right now the last thing AEW needs is more titles, especially with how much we've seen Ring of Honor titles, not necessarily defended, but just on. Like, you see so many people with belts around their shoulders and waists. And I mean, you have now the Continental Classic split up, the international title, you have the trios titles, the
Continental
tag titles,
breakfast title,
the TNT title, the world title,
the catering
two
title,
women's titles. Yeah. So it's just, and then on TV you have the Ring of Honor championship title on there, and then the Ring of Honor 6-man tag trios on there, and then the FTW, and it's like, how many are you going to showcase on TV at one time, and what's the benefit of that, and what's the importance of having that or not?
I think unless you have an actual plan to siphon the audience to ROH, and there's a plan like, hey, did you like this match? Yeah. Well, guess what? Next week, I'm going against Mark Briscoe. Unless there is a actual plan, not just, hey, you saw it. I think keep all the ROH champions on ROH, and if you plan on using the Undisputed Kingdom or so and so on your AEW programming, then have them drop the belts to somebody else, because I understand using the AEW popularity to try to build ROH up, but that's not what's good. No, but if they're not on ROH, then and especially like going back to say, if you're lessening the value of those belts by having them just kind of, oh, by the way, we're the so and so. It's almost like when you have wrestlers on the roster that they're like the local like they're the OVW champion or the PCB or the PB&J champion, or they're these local champions but they're not the AEW champion. It's almost like window dressing, or it's almost like an accessory rather than an actual title.
Right.
I say keep ROH and ROH, and that's going to help ROH, because ROH is worth watching by its own right. And let occasionally have somebody come over and just to kind of bring people back, but you shouldn't have your champions, your ROH champions, only on AEW. And I think
use them as a promotional tool, like you just said. Yes. Like, okay, they come down and beat someone up, and then Orange Cassidy and Trent challenge them. Okay, yeah, you want a shot at these? You want a shot at us? Come to Super Card of Honor and we'll challenge you, or come to Ring of Honor on Thursday and we'll challenge you.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it may be. So it drives a viewership to Ring of Honor. So obviously all eyes are on AEW. So use it as a bridge and a promotional tool. Promotional tool.
And tour. Absolutely.
But yes, women's division was showcased very well last night. You got I think you got a special thing for us.
Well,
right
yes,
now?
I do. I actually, speaking of tag teams, there are two of my favorite wrestlers who seem to be a bit lost.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that, and for different reasons, one of them is still kind of in a storyline, but it seems a little weird. But I think these two wrestlers who've lost their partners for different reasons,
right,
could form one of the coolest, most entertaining, and badass teams in AEW, possibly future champions. This is armchair booking for the Chicken and the Monkey. Could two former tag team champions who have lost their respective partners form one of the most badass, ruthless, and possibly unlikely pairings in AEW and become future AEW tag team champions? Mindrunner here to make the case on armchair booking for your newest, most badass, and possibly favorite tag team champions. With the AEW tag team division getting a much needed injection of lifeblood, with Nicholas and Matthew Jackson being at the top of a tag team tournament. However, there have been two AEW elite superstars that have recently lost their tag team partners respectfully, and they seem to be wandering aimlessly among the singles circuit. One of them has been tossed around into different storylines, while the other has barely seen TV time at all. But consider this. What if we formed a tag team consisting of Mark Briscoe and Ortiz? Mark Briscoe, of course, is one half of the Briscoes, who were 13-time Ring of Honor champions until Jay's untimely demise. Since then, Chicken has been trying the singles circuit, and to his own admission, he's been struggling to really get a grasp of the singles competition. He's been kicking ass, but he's been suffering a number of losses, bouncing between feuds with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Now he's in a feud with House of Black. And with the exception of a recent gift from Eddie Kingston of a Ring of Honor title shot, Mark's been kind of wandering aimlessly without much of a purpose or goal, which is more than we can say for Ortiz, who, after a blow-off match against his former partner, Mike Santana, Ortiz has pretty much been non-existent on our television. And it's a crying shame, because this was a once very popular tag team partner for Proud and Powerful, who many have wanted to see gold around their waist, now has been regulated to catering. Such a shame. But imagine these two together. The ruthlessness, the badassery. These are two fighters. These are one's from the streets of New York, one from the farm in, I believe it's Delaware, and one with the ancient art of redneck kung fu. The two of them could form a very dominant and very scary and very entertaining tag team. We could call them Chicken and the Monkey. We could call them Two Badasses. There's a number of names that you can put in there. In fact, tell us in the comments what you would label that team. But this would be a very dominant team and would breathe life into two very capable, very entertaining personalities, and could be a new formidable foe for a number of tag teams in the division. So let us know what you think. Could you see Mark Briscoe and Ortiz forming an awesome tag team? Or what other tag teams would you like to see? Let us know in the comments. This has been Armchair Booking. And just a funny note, I shared that on Twitter, and Ortiz not only liked it, approved of it, but also he said he feels like he's who's that Pokemon with the whole, the overshadow before it shows who the wrestlers are. So there you go. Ortiz is down. We just got to get Briscoe and Tony Khan on board. But
I think that's a great armchair booking mind. As I think if the pairing fits great, those guys are grinders. They're gritty. They're tough. They'll bite your ankles. They'll kick you in the kneecaps. They'll do it all to win and grind. And I think that's a babyface team that can get a lot of fans behind. And I agree. Both guys have been bouncing around. Well, more Briscoe than Ortiz, and to throw them together, I don't think that's a bad thing to do, and I think that they would uplift each other. Obviously, there's no replacing their OG partners with PNP and the Briscoe brothers. However, they can come together on common ground of, enjoying and loving tag team wrestling so much, but they're in a standstill of like what to do, who could be my partner, who should or shouldn't be. And I think that could be one of those unlikely duos that could really be impressive in the tag team division that is growing and being featured more and more.
And they have a chance to really start book this, because if with the Eddie Kingston versus Mark Briscoe match, Ortiz has got that connection with Eddie.
Sure.
Ortiz is one of his buddies. If you and of course, Mark Briscoe has cost House of Black the chance to advance and blah, blah, blah. So if House of Black attack Eddie and Ortiz and Briscoe at a Supercard of Honor, now you have a chance. Like, you can have this moment where then have Ortiz face Buddy Matthews or something the following week.
Right.
And then have a brawl and have Chicken and Ortiz back to back fighting off everybody. They turn around, and then you have that Macho Man Hulk Hogan moment where they're like, and then it's kind of how we formed Hookhausen or some of these other matches. You have that Ortiz, Chicken, and Monkey. I want it to happen. Let's bring it. Let's do it.
That's great. Great take. Let's put it out there on social more. I'll grab some clips. We'll tag them and just keep trolling it until it actually happens.
Let's do it.
Speaking of doing it, before we talk about the main event, I want to bring up this here. The rankings are back. A lot of up and down things. Where'd they go? They're heavy pushing them. Then they're back. Then they're gone. Now they're back. So they're back. I don't know if this is going to be a weekly thing like it used to be, or if it's going to be a monthly thing, or just kind of whenever the heck you want to do it. But you have 3 new champs here on the left side with Adam Copeland, Roderick Strong, and Okada. So you almost are forcing yourself to do this, because you can't just keep, we got 3 fresh faces on that left side. And so the array of champions we see here is very diverse and different than what AEW landscape looked like, a couple of years ago even. So let's see here. What does anyone surprise you, or any team surprise you in these new rankings?
Well, okay. We keep it positive, but we're real. We have real criticisms because we love AEW. First of all, how's Moxley going up in the rankings since where's he been? He had to get one tag match. I know, but he's number 3. He's gone up, and yet he hasn't really wrestled much, but that's fine.
True.
I love that Thunder Rosa's number 1. I love that we're having that number 1 contender. I think we're having a number 1 contender between her and Diana coming up, possibly. Or if they haven't booked it, that's coming.
Nothing official, but that sounds like a great. Or her versus Mariah May, because rankings are rankings.
Yeah, actually, that's what should happen. Should be a Thunder versus Mariah May. I know Deonna Purrazzo. That would be interesting to see how that works. But I do think that I love to see Thunder up at number 1. And, she deserves a shot because she never lost. We need to do more with and hopefully we're finally getting to that, but we need to really get the trios thing going again and get some stuff going. And if you're going to break up Big Bill and Ricky Starks as a team. If they're going to lose the tournament, which they might, they're probably going to lose. They're probably going to lose to FDR. They're probably going to advance and lose to FDR. If you're going to break them up as a team, you need to still keep the two of them together. And I think you need to have. I'd like to see Ricky go for the TNT title with Adam Copeland. I'd like to see that with Big Bill in the back. Good question in the chat, by the way. Triple B, that's like Triple H, Triple B. Time to play the game. How long do you guys think it takes Okada to be world champ? I think it's going to be a while. I think we got to have this whole Swerve Ospreay mess stuff. I don't want to say mess; it's good stuff. Play out. I think we're looking about a year or so, but I could see that happening.
It's so hard to. Yes, I think he's definitely got championship material written all over him. However, the landscape of AEW changes so rapidly. I mean, just predicting today here in March 2024, if I could do the lineage of the next 3 champs that I'd want in AEW as world champs, it's totally going to be totally different, than what it's actually going to pan out to be. So ideally, I would love to have Swerve be next, then Ospreay be next, and then after that, I would love. I mean, I could see Takeshita as a champ.
Yeah, the alpha,
especially as a heel champ, or Kenny Omega having another run. So. Do you feel the same, or what would your next 3 lineages of champions be? Just bold off the cuff predicting.
Off the cuff. See, that's the thing is I'm so pumped about how they're. My dream, of course, is Swerve versus Ospreay at Wembley. Whoever wins, we all win, because that's going to be phenomenal.
Right.
Yeah, I could see. Okay, it really depends on how the American fan base, because he's essentially their Ric Flair in Japan. He went when he left Florida and went back overseas. And this is, by the way, I recommend listening to the Young Bucks book, on especially audiobook, or read it, because it really highlights the real true history between Okada and the Young Bucks, how they looked after him when he was in the United States. He wasn't really getting treated very well, and they kind of took him under their wing. And then when they went to Japan, they had no idea how popular he was. I mean, he was essentially like The Rock in Japan, and so he was super over there, super popular. And then he comes to the United States, and so now he's kind of have to reintroduce him to American population. I think that's going to take some time to build him up, but this is they're doing it the right way,
right?
Having him part of the elite. I could see that happening. But see, there's so many other folks out there deserving too. You've got Hangman might come back. Like you said, we might see Kenny get another run. Takeshita is definitely a possibility. Heck, I could see a path where Will Hobbs gets into the picture, and who knows what they're going to do with Wardlow and Adam Cole. I mean, that's a Pac. Pac would be great. There's so many candidates out there, so it's hard to say.
Right.
Depending on who would win, I mean, let's just assume that Ospreay's the world champion after after Wembley. Then I would push either another Takeshita feud, or Moxley. There's so many places to go. It's just we're definitely it's definitely a great time to be a wrestling fan. Definitely a great time to be an AEW fan. Sky's the limit. And I do kind of see Brent's point about the rankings. Just sometimes we got to stop being so much of a mark and just enjoy wrestling. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. And then as you see, like I have my Audible book, Young Bucks, at the top there.
Yes.
To listen to, as you keep recommending. But speaking of some of those key top guys that we've been talking about, Swerve Strickland versus Takeshita, main eventing Dynamite last night. Absolutely incredible match. I would give it, I mean, I don't really rank matches, but I think that definitely was up there with one of the better matches on TV for a long time, as a while. Not the best, but is definitely a main event worthy match. It's a pay-per-view quality match that we got for free. I'll be the first to admit, like when Takeshita first came to AEW, I was just kind of like, who is this guy? Like, I don't know much about you. There's hype. And what we've seen over the last 3 to 6 months of him has really exceeded all of my expectations or early impressions. And the pairing with Callis, I think, has been fantastic. And it's given him an edge. It's given him more character. And his time to shine in the ring that he's been giving us has been fantastic. And so I think we have established definitely a ace in the hole with Takeshita in AEW. And now Swerve Strickland going against him, this was definitely one of probably his best TV matches that we've seen out of Swerve on AEW. And man, the guy is Mr. Primetime. He steps up to the plate every single time. He's Mr. Reliable. He does not miss his opportunities. And you can see it. You can see the passion that he has for where he's at in wrestling. You can see the drive that he has and just the insane growth that we've seen out of him. Yeah. I want more. I want him to be champion so bad coming up, but
it's coming.
At the same side of the coin, it's like Joe has been so great as well. But I think, as I've said last week, and I'll continue to say, like, you got to strike while the iron's hot. I mean, Swerve, how many times is he going to get up to bat and get so close and then what? Like, I don't think you can revisit another match with Samoa Joe after this.
I mean, lack of a better analogy, I mean, there's only so much teasing you can do before you start to ache in a certain area. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But like, it's time to pull the trigger on Swerve. I think Dynasty is the time to crown your new champion. But just this match itself was tremendous. I mean, you could run this match. You could run a best of 7 of these two guys, and every match would be a banger. They really had a great chemistry, even when there were a couple like moments where I wouldn't say it was a botch, where they swerved. They switched what they were going to do, but they communicated very well. When we first saw Takeshita, he had shorter hair. He was introduced back. This is still like pandemic area AEW. Kenny brought him out, and we watched him a little bit. And both Full Tilt Deb and I noticed, was like, he's a little bit like a Kenny. He's kind of like a young Kenny. And of course, then I don't know if I was doing it back then, but I was promoting the whole rumor that he's Kenny's long lost son or long lost nephew, or that Kenny had a very romantic evening way back when. And then we did the math with the ages. Kenny would have had to have been like 12 years old or something when it happened. But the Takeshita does remind me of a young Kenny. A lot of his moves, a lot of his moveset, a lot of the stuff he does, but I mean, slightly more powerful than Kenny, but a lot of the stuff he does, but his responsiveness, he's fluid. Swerve, on the other hand, he's probably my number one, because of he's grown so much with the on the mic, with his promos, with his persona. He finally found himself. I mean, he was searching when he came in. He had the Bath Salt Boys as bodyguards for a while, and then he tried this stuff with Keith Lee, and there was just a lot of stuff that just didn't quite click. But now with his manager, the Prince King Nana, who is doing the Swerve. I mean, did you see how many people in the stands were just like marking out doing this? I mean, we were doing that at home. We were swerving out.
Yeah, it's so fun, and it's just like he's such a sidebar. I mean, he's such a great manager, and Prince Nana just being the hype man on the side of the ring during the whole, getting the crowd going. It's a home run. And every time he's in, Swerve's getting interviewed or camera, he's just sneaky. He's being sneaky in the back there with his facials that just tell a whole story on it in and of itself.
The two best Prince Nana moments was one when it was in the match against Hangman, when Swerve had Hangman into the thing, and then Swerve went behind him and was like going like this. And then there was the other one where they were trying to get like Swerve was knocked out and they were counting him out, and he was almost at 10. And the only thing Nana could do it was almost like he swerved danced him back to life. Like it was like CPR, but he swerved, the magic of the swerve. And I just cracked that up. But it's such a great contrast, Because here's Swerve all serious and
Mhm.
mean mugging Samoa Joe or whoever. And who do you got behind you? You got Nana. But sometimes Nana's even funnier when he's trying to mean mug. Like he'll be behind Swerve going, like, oh, that's right. Oh, we're going to get you.
He's got great facials.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. But back to the reason Swerve, I think, is my number one is the way he storytells in the ring. He's got great expressions. He's fluid. He rolls with everybody. He could wrestle Moxley on Monday, wrestle Danielson on Tuesday, wrestle Ray Phoenix on Wednesday, wrestle Ospreay on Thursday, and have a banger match. Yeah, shut up and take our money. But his reactions to his opponent of when he got over on him, he gets that grin that, you know, and then when he's surprised, he has that, like, how do you do it? He seems like to me a student of the business, student of the game.
Right.
And I think he's phenomenal. He's fluid. And I could say the same for Will Ospreay, which is my Tony Khan. We here at Dynamite Download, we've been good. We've been loyal fans since 2019.
Yes, from the start.
I think your fan base has been phenomenal. We've been very supportive, you know, and we've been really good. We like to ask this. Please book Swerve versus Ospreay at Wembley. Please.
Yes, please do.
Book this. Please. For us.
Main event. Please.
Yes.
That will deliver in every sense. I mean, especially you have that much time to build it or start to plant the seeds after both guys have their time at Dynasty. Just give us subtle hints. Because I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the Talk of Jericho Ospreay one yet, but I highly recommend that. But he talked about wanting to work with Swerve and other people he wants to work with. So I think TK is kind of allowing him to, or it's just, you know, smart booking in general, to kind of have like, okay, here's the roster. Like, who do you want to go with? And I know you're going to deliver because you're just that much of an elite talent for Ospreay. So, I mean, we saw him with Shibata, Takeshita. We're going to see him with Danielson. You know, there's so many more guys that he's going to roll with that is just going to absolutely deliver. But that gives us a nice long build. I don't know who would win in that match.
We would win.
Yeah, true. It doesn't matter. Jericho said it on commentary before, you know, about the fans being the number one winning of that.
Do we have time to talk about Jericho?
I'd rather end on this high note.
Okay.
I'd rather end on this high note. You know, I was looking up while we were talking about Takeshita, 28 years young. Very in Ospreay. We're getting him in his infancy. Takeshita in their infancy. Swerve, I don't know how old Swerve is, but a lot of these wrestlers, even though we've seen the length of career longevity be extremely better than it has been in many years past, Swerve is 33. So he's still very good. You know, you stay healthy and you keep a good workload as AEW gives you a nice workload as best as possible. And we're going to see these guys for many, many years, which is going to be great. I mean, in your women's division, you got Julia Hart, who she's like 21 years old, other Sky Blue, like low 20s, and other stars like that.
May.
Yeah. So the future is bright for AEW. That's why I wear these sunglasses every week, because the future and the now is very bright for AEW.
Yes.
But hey, that's about an hour, almost right an hour for our episode. Yes. So next week, unfortunately, SPD won't be there. I have a work thing where I'll be in a different time zone. It's just not going to work. So we got a couple guest hosts that's going to be joining Mindrunner. So thank you so much for that. I'll try to chime in. If I can make a little guest cameo Hollywood SPD appearance, I'll definitely do that.
Oh, we'd love to have you.
Week.
Yep, but I've got my ragtag posse. You know, we got to come up with something. We're not Bullet Club Gold. Maybe we're Dynamite Club Red or something like that. We'll come up with something. But you may, if you've been watching Dynamite Download when I've been taking lead, you probably know who those two people are. Two of my favorite people in the world. Two of our we'll call us the Dynamite Club or something like that. And shout out to Triple B, for joining us tonight. Thank you so much. The Triple B, I get this image of like Triple H with Triple B. And shout out to Brian. The Raz is in the house. And Bobby B. Bobby B is, who knows? He's, again, don't let the rankings right now mean anything. Because as we know, any given Wednesday, any given Saturday, heck, Rampage, anything can happen. It's going to be pretty awesome. So, good stuff. Good time to be a wrestling fan.
March Madness for sure is in full effect, both in AEW and in other areas. So thank you guys for joining us tonight at episode 120, and we will see you all next week.